That his son was dead, the sire has long since known. Now the ravisher is dead. Tell what manner of his end.
With troubled steps, he left the city, a fugitive, quickly unfolding his way with swift, flying feet, and bringing his prancing steeds beneath the high yoke, and curbing their mouths with tight-drawn reins. Then, much did he utter, communing with himself, and cursing his native land, he called often upon his sires to bring him forth, and fiercely shook the lash. When suddenly, out the deep sea thundered and heaved itself starward. No wind was blowing on the briny sea that day. From no quarter of the calm sky came the noise. It was a self-born tempest that stirred the deep. Not so violently does the south wind distress Sicilia's straits, nor so madly does the Ionian sea swell against the northwest tyranny. When the peaks shook against the waves, and the highest of them was wet, dashed up spray. This vast destruction wasn't piled up for ships. No, it was the land that it threatened. The sea, swollen with a monstrous birth, some ungodly thing in its womb, rushed to land. While we, in dumb amaze, wonder what this means, behold the whole sea billowed, and the hands of every cliff echo back the noise. The highest of the peaks were wet and spew back the flood, like a cavernous whale swimming through the deep waves of ocean, spewing back the water from its mouth. And then suddenly, the globe of water shivered, shook, and broke, and brought to the thing a thing more terrible than our fear. How the thing looked, how huge. Oh, my lips tremble in the telling. A bull it was, with a big, brawny blue neck, the shaggy mane upon its verdant crest, its ears sticking upright, its eyes flashing with changing colors. First, that of one the Lord of the wild herd might have, then of one born beneath the sea, and his eyes dart with flame, and then they shone wondrous with cerulean gleam. Oh, its chest green with clinging moss, its long legs with red seaweed are spotted, its flaring nostrils roar with gaping draughts of air, and its hinder parts joined together in monstrous shape, all scaly. The monstrous thing drags its measureless length along. Oh, the lands quaked with fear. The herds frenzied in all directions, and the herdsman forgot to follow his cattle. Beasts of every nature fled from their wooden haunts, and the huntsman stood frozen with trembling fear. Hippolytus alone, quite unafraid, steered his steeds along the beach, and as terrified as though they were, he brought them forth with the sound of his encouraging, familiar voice. There was a path, hardened by the cliffs on both sides, and the sea below. Here, that monstrous, boisterous, huge beast prepares his wrath and sharpens his anger. And once his spirit fully grown and his wrath fully rehearsed, he darts forth, scarcely touching the sand with swift flying feet. Your son, with zero fear, rises up with fierce, threatening look, and without changing countenance, loudly thunders, "This empty terror cannot break my spirit, for it was my father's task to conquer bulls." But straightway, the horses, disobedient to the reins, wherever their frenzied mad brought them, there they plunged and dashed amid the rocks. Hippolytus, as a helmsman, held his cart strong against the ocean and cheats the flood skillfully. In like manner, guides his steeds along the shore. The monster held doggedly in pursuit, first running alongside them, then making detour to face them head on, filling the horses with fear from every side. But now they could flee no further, for the monster charged headlong upon them. Then truly, the steeds, in mad frenzy, threw Hippolytus from the cart, but as he fell headlong on his face, his limbs became tangled in the reins, and the more he fought against those hard-holding coils, the firmer they became. His head dashed among the rocks and bound back from them. The horses, feeling their light chariot which none controlled, and indignant that the day had been entrusted to a pretended son, flung Hippolytus far from his heavenly track. Far and wide, the fields are stained with blood. The bramble flicks away at his hair. The sharp rocks tear at his flesh. And finally, as he is whirled along, his dying limbs caught in the reins, a tree, its trunk charred into his stake, stays him and drives its stock right through the groin. For a while there, the car stays, held by its impaled master. Then, equally delay the steeds, and their master too. They break. Thereafter, the thicket slashes dying limbs. The bramble plucks away his body, and every tree trunk takes its toll on him. Now, bands of his mourning servants scour the fields, as whimpering dogs search for their master's limbs. But not yet has the painstaking toil of his grieving friends availed to fill out the body. Has his glorious beauty come to this? He, who was the illustrious partner of his father's throne, who was the acknowledged heir, who but shone like the stars, is being gathered by every hand for his final burial, and collected for his funeral pyre.
Oh, nature, all too potent with how strong ties of blood do you hold parents. How we cherish you even against our wills. Guilty, I wished him dead. Lost, I lament him.
Not rightfully any weep when he is willed.
Truly I deem this the crowning woe of woes, if fortune makes what we must loathe, what we must long for.
If you still keep your hate, why are your cheeks wet with tears?
Not that I lost, but that I slew, I weep.
chance whirls round the affairs of men.